This is it, the finale of Survivor Game Changers. We had rats, we had dumb jocks, we had criminals, we had cops, and everyone has a crush on Cochrane. Welcome to Drop Your Buffs. We're talking about Survivor Game Changers. It's the 26th of May, 2017. With me tonight, I've got Craig as usual.
G'day, Stu. How are you?
Pretty good, Craig.
You got a crush on Cochrane too?
Oh, doesn't everyone?
Yeah, I do.
Doesn't everyone?
Jeff does. Jeff Probst, we learnt last night, he does. I think everyone's got a crush on Cochrane.
That's right. And it was great to see him in the
was.
audience as well, of course.
was.
You know, he's a...
One of the greats.
Do you reckon he'll ever come back?
Well, he came back this season, didn't he? He was on the boat with Debbie, remember?
He did, actually. Yeah, he did. He did. So, I mean, it'd be great to see him back. But
Would.
you know, it's,
I don't know. Why would he?
I know. I mean, he can't really do any better than what he's done before, so it'd be hard to come back, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I reckon he won that season. It was just like, you know, no one would have ever expected him to win. I wouldn't have thought. He came back, he won it. He's got nothing to prove. I wouldn't.
No.
I'd leave it at that, to be honest. And hey, if you can get paid to come back occasionally to provide advice on some boat with lovely food in Fiji, why wouldn't you keep on doing that? That's the best deal of them all, I reckon.
That's right. Yeah. But we aren't here to talk about Cochrane.
No, we're not here to talk about Cochrane.
No. So, well, should we just get stuck into it then,
yeah,
shall we?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
well,
well...
Game Changers.
Well, Sarah was pretty angry at Sari for trying to steal that advantage. So this is coming straight off the back of last episode.
This is the fallout from that the previous tribal council, exactly, where you know, Sarah had given her advantage to Sari, knew the fine print, knew that it couldn't be transferred, and of course Sari didn't read the fine print and tried to do something with it, which was pretty underhanded. It
was, and then it really then it let the cat out of the bag then, because everyone knew that she had that advantage.
Rat.
The rat,
or the rat, as it turns out.
Oh, there were lots of emotions flying around during that little exchange, wasn't there?
Exactly. So yeah, the rat. They're talking about who's the rat, and I think they worked out it was Ty.
Yeah, I think what is really showing though as well is that it's coming to almost the day 39, and
yeah. Well, this was night 35. There's 4 days to go.
Yeah,
There's 6 of them left.
They're all tired and they're hungry
and desperate to get to the end.
That's right, and so they aren't acting rationally, really. I think so. It's Now then, Ty admits he was the rat. And Sarah then ends up apologising to Sari. So it was all a bit of a weird...
it was a bit of a strange vibe, wasn't it? There was a bit going on there. But then we see... and this next bit, I think, really did influence what happened in the game from here on, when Ty revealed to Culpepper that he had 2 idols. I don't understand why he had to do that.
No.
I don't think it was in his advantage to do that. I think we're at that point of the game where, other than the Troyzan Culpepper alliance... which was holding firm. Everyone else was fair game, I think, at this point.
That's right.
I don't think Ty needed to throw that one out there to get trust or anything like that. It was just, I think it was not a clever move, and it absolutely affected the way the game turned out.
And that's something that even Jeff brought up in the reunion. He was saying, he just sort of said, why does people always feel a need to tell these secrets all the time? He just couldn't get it.
Well, so. I mean, I've said this, we've talked about this before, and I don't get it either. I do not like, as a general policy, the idea of the survivors telling other people that they've got an advantage, got an idol, whatever it is. I understand that there are some situations where you're trying to create trust with someone or prove that you're loyal or whatever it is, and that's why they do it. But
it didn't seem like a big enough moment for any of these people, really.
But when you think about what happened this season, where people did reveal things like that, in almost every case it didn't go well. So Sierra shared with Sarah that she had that advantage. Sarah's no longer in the game. We had the situation with Ty, and we'll talk about what happened with his 2 idols, but so he's sharing it with Culpepper, and it absolutely changed the outcome of the game. We had the situation with Sarah last episode where she'd given the advantage to Sari, who then tried to double-cross her. So it always seems to go wrong. People always try to use it against you, and I just did not understand in this situation why Ty was doing it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
He could have kept the 2, saved himself a second time.
Or at least maybe he should have just said that he had 1.
Yeah.
Maybe say he had 1 is a bit of a...
Yeah.
Just have a bet each way then. But
absolutely.
Yeah. But even... And it did backfire, because then, even though Ty told Brad wasn't really particularly trusting of Ty anyway. So
he said that. He said he's lied to me before. And he'd have no problem voting him out when he get the opportunity.
Well, I guess Ty didn't actually show him the idols then, so
True.
Brad thought that, maybe he's making it up. But who would make up having two idols though?
Well,
That's a bit...
I mean, you wouldn't believe him if he said it. Would you? If Ty
No.
told you had two idols, would you believe him?
No.
I don't think I would. Anyway, so with that setting the scene, we slept on it and we went to day 36 at the immunity challenge, which unexpectedly turned into a reward challenge as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, this was the
Giant maze.
the running through the maze to collect the various puzzle pieces and then bring them all back and
That's
then
right.
finish the puzzle. So
Do the
it's
compass
pretty sort of...
How long do you reckon it would have taken them to build that maze?
Oh,
That
exactly.
was very elaborate. Is
It
that why
was,
this
yeah.
was saved till day 36? Because they were building it for weeks?
Probably. I mean, yeah. I mean, I was thinking the same thing. Like, do they dig all these posts in all these holes in the ground and they concrete all these posts in and they... Oh,
I don't know.
how they do it? It's
It'd have to be reasonably sturdy if anyone
exactly
ran into it.
It couldn't be concrete though, because
What sort of, did it look like plywood, or what sort of wood did it look like to you? Stu?
oh, I'm not sure about that, but they can't, but they can't, but they have to sort of leave it back. They have to revert all these things back to their natural
They do,
habitat.
yeah.
Though.
I think it's part of the requirement of filming there that they do have to do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
They restore it to the way they found it.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
there can't be too much concrete being poured into holes.
No, that's right. That's right.
Anyway, so off they went, did the challenge. Culpepper was doing pretty well, and Ty was basically following him around early on, tagging him wherever he went. But it was Culpepper and Aubrey that got back first, and anyway, Culpepper went on to win that one.
Yeah, well, it's the maze was fairly standard, but the puzzle though was actually quite different.
it
The way
was.
that was all balanced together and everything. That was
And you had to have colours in the right directions. It was a two-sided puzzle as well.
That was quite tricky, yeah.
Yeah, it was quite tricky, but he won that one. So that gave him immunity, but he also then had to make a decision about who he would take to the reward, which was chicken parmigiana, I think it was spaghetti, and a key lime pie. You ever had a key lime? I haven't.
Oh, it's very nice.
You've had it?
It's very nice, yeah. And of course, this was the time. Well, just going back to that puzzle challenge where Brad said, "Pretty good for a dumb jock." So,
I don't think he's that dumb. He's a lawyer. He must be pretty bright.
yeah, that's right. I think he's a pretty well-rounded
Yeah,
survivor player, to be
absolutely.
honest.
Oh,
So
I totally agree.
He did well.
So anyway, off they went back to the beach, and a nice little table set up, and the food turned up, and Culpepper, Troy, Zan, and Sarah had a great old chat about what they're going to do next.
Of course, this ends up being the final three, as we later discover.
That's right.
Brad, Troy, Zan, and Sarah. But yeah.
And the consensus from that meal was that Aubrey should be voted for.
Yes, that's right. I don't think that they really went too much into why. It was just but I guess there's not that many people left at this stage anyway.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
So then Brad tells Ty about it.
Yep.
And then he basically tells Ty to play one idol and to give the other one to himself, to Brad.
Yes.
As a symbol of trust.
Yes, and promised if he did that he'll take him to the final three.
Yeah, Brad, it just seemed like all of a sudden Brad was very dominating and intimidating, and it was very hard to watch, actually, wasn't it?
He was. I mean, it's been interpreted, and Ty certainly interpreted it as bullying. I don't know if I'd go that far.
Well, they were really at wit's end, weren't they, at that point? And but Brad hadn't been acting like that beforehand, though.
Not that we've seen, no.
No, he was very sort of cool and calm, really. Even when Debbie was going crazy and so on, he even played that pretty calm. But
I don't think Culpepper had any intention whatsoever. In fact, he said that he was not going to give the idol back. If Ty had given him one of the idols, he wasn't going to give it back, which suggested to me he was going to cut his throat at the following tribal council. So this idea that he would take him to the final three was a complete lie.
Yeah,
I think
he was playing very hard at that time.
He was playing it hard, and that's what I think you can interpret it as. And perhaps he took advantage of Ty perhaps not being quite as robust in an exchange like that as Culpepper would be. Is that bullying? Well, I guess it's always in the eye of the beholder, and that's Ty, and he thought it was. So,
it's probably the biggest person talking to the smallest person as well. So
that is true. That is true. So look, I don't know that we'll reach a conclusion on that, but certainly I agree. He was certainly playing the game very, very hard at that point and doing what he felt he had to do to secure his place in the game. But yeah, he told Aubrey Ty is not getting the idol back. Then we had Ty talking to Aubrey, or was he talking to Sari?
Well, no, it was Ty talking to Aubrey about basically what Sir Brad was bullying
that's right. Yeah,
about.
quite upset,
And then,
quite upset about what was going on.
And then Sari comes over because she's keen to try and win back Ty's trust, and the upshot of all of that really is Ty becomes very upset and he's crying and he's just falling apart at this stage, isn't he?
Absolutely. And I think it all goes back to the fact that he revealed that he had those two idols. If he hadn't done that, I don't think any of that would have happened. So very pivotal decision. And I, as we said, I don't understand why he did it. Then we had Aubrey, talking about once again her life is in someone else's hands, and in this case it's Ty, and as she said 10 minutes before Tribal Council, he's having a complete breakdown. Not a good situation for Aubrey to be in. But anyway, then Ty seemed to pull himself together and said, look, I need to toughen up and work out what's best for me. And yes, that's exactly what you need to do, Ty.
Yeah.
So
and that brings us to
that
Tribal.
was the lead up, which brought us to the first Tribal Council of the night. Lots of talk at this one.
There's more talk about Ty being the rat and so on, which we've already sort of I don't really want to rehash that particularly, but I guess the main thing that sort of came out of it though was that why was it that Ty was getting all the heat? Because he was saying everyone's doing it. How come he's the one that everyone's jumping on?
Yeah, fair point.
So it was.
Fair point. But Sarah was calling him out. Yeah, everyone was attacking him. Culpepper was saying things like you got a bit of buyer beware of doing a deal with Ty, and Siri wasn't confident about him. And look, it's probably symptomatic of how he plays and has played before, and he tends to flip-flop.
Yeah, he's very wishy-washy.
We've talked about this. He's wishy-washy, he's unreliable, and therefore he's risky. And you don't know what he's going to do, and he might flip for reasons that you don't expect. And I think probably all of that, after 5 weeks of not eating and sleeping and the physical deprivation that goes with it, you just get paranoid about it.
It just heightens everything.
It heightens everything, and he's the obvious target in a situation like that. I think that's all it is. He is that sort of player, and you can't rely on what he's going to do. Anyway, now we've been predicting some drama was going to happen because at the beginning of this episode, we had a number of advantages still in play. So we had Troyzan, who's holding an idol. We had Ty, who's holding 2 idols. And we had Sarah, who has the legacy advantage that she picked up from under Michaela's foot some episodes back. And they're all in play. Now, Sarah, this is 6 people left. Sarah, the only time she could play her legacy advantage was this one. So what went down is we had Culpepper with an immunity idol around his neck. We had Sarah, well, the order it happened is Ty then played his 2 idols, one for himself and one for Aubrey.
That's right.
We then had Sarah, who played her legacy advantage, obviously for herself because she had to. She didn't have to, but this was her only opportunity to do it. And then Troyzan played his idol. So the end effect of that was 5 people were protected by idols, which left just one.
Who had nothing.
Who was Sari. And presumably who didn't know about it. I think she may have known about Ty's 2 idols at this stage, but she certainly didn't know about Sarah's legacy advantage. She probably didn't know about Troyzan's idol either, so she could not have predicted what was about to happen.
No, that's right. That's right. So
completely outwitted, basically.
So this was a game changer. I mean, she wasn't really outwitted particularly. It was just like it was like a case of musical chairs, and she was the last person left.
So I was surprised though that this went down the way it is. I'm surprised that the rules allow a situation where at a tribal council where only one person can be voted for and then no one actually votes for her, that she can still be voted out. I find that quite interesting. Because all this happened after the vote. The vote happens. So during the vote, everyone's fair game, except for Culpepper. The vote is over. Then Jeff says if anyone has a hidden immunity idol, now's the time to play it, and they all do. Which only leaves 3 that can be voted for. But there were no votes in there for her anyway. So why did she get voted out? I find that just a peculiar rule.
Well, there's nothing else that they can do because she is the only one that could possibly go home. And so the only way for any of the others to go home is to somehow nullify their idols, which I can't see.
Which isn't going to happen. And it wouldn't be fair to do a revote if everyone's played their idols and then get no advantage from it.
That's right. So it's not
a really peculiar
It's
situation.
not fair on Sari, but I can't see any other way out of it, though, to be honest.
Yeah, I guess so.
Apart from drawing rocks or something silly like that. But even then, that would be unfair on the people that played idols.
Exactly. But I don't know. I think that's actually what you suggested then. I actually think is more fair. There are people in there who had votes for them, and the only reason they weren't voted out is because they'd played an idol. And they subsequently played an idol. So it almost, it's a very interesting situation. Obviously, it's in the rules and you can do that.
How about a 6-way fire challenge? There you go.
Wow. Wow. Wouldn't that be incredible?
Well, as Jeff said, that there were several records broken. We had the most idols played at once, which was 3, plus we had that advantage, which is basically an idol anyway. We had the most people safe, that was 5. And Sari becomes the first person to be voted out because there's no choice. Yeah.
And doesn't this demonstrate too the power of not telling people that you have one of these advantages? So no one knew Sarah had it. We don't think anyone knew that Troy Zan had it.
But hang on, didn't they know Sarah had it because Sari tried to play it at the last tribal council? So they knew.
No, that was the other one, wasn't it?
Well, I'm not sure now because
that wasn't that the vote taking advantage.
I don't know. Was that one played though?
Yeah, it was last time. See, the one she played at this tribal council was the one she could only play with 6 votes left. And I don't think anyone knew about that one. And that was the one she got from Sierra.
Right. Because I don't
think they knew about it.
I thought last time Sarah had one that she was playing and the other one she gave to Sari for safekeeping or whatever.
Ooh.
So
yeah, testing my memory.
I'm not sure about that. Yeah.
But I don't think they knew about Troy Zan's.
No,
Culpepper may have
right.
done. I don't think he did. He may have done.
Not that we know about.
Not that we know about, exactly. So I think this demonstrates how those idols can be really powerful if no one knows you have them.
Exactly.
Because a strategy can't be mounted against you to flush it out or whatever. So no one could have predicted the way that tribal.
It was certainly a game-changing moment.
It was, yeah. Absolutely was. So it was sad. It was sad Sari went the way she did. But look,
no, it was, but I thought that Jeff really gave her probably one of the best send-offs that has ever been given to any survivor leaving,
totally.
really.
He did.
Because he was saying, what is the story of Sari? And Sari's saying that Survivor changed me. I met people that I wouldn't otherwise have met and I had these amazing experiences. And Jeff said, Sari, you played every day with grace. It's been an honour. And that normally he doesn't weigh in on anyone.
No, and he said
like
that. Actually, I think he said that at the reunion show. He doesn't normally do that. He tries to stay, detached from it all and doesn't show his personal opinions and all that sort of thing. She got a clap from the jury. Yeah, she's one of the Survivor greats, no question.
It was actually a standing ovation, wasn't it? Yeah.
That was from the crowd at the live reunion show. She got a clap from.
I thought that they.
Maybe they did. Stand up. I didn't notice.
Yeah. Anyway, it was quite an unusual moment.
Yeah. So that was Sari leaving the game. Now, just for the record, the votes that were cast, none of which counted. Sarah got 3 votes from Ty, Sari, and Aubrey. Sorry, did I say Ty? I meant Sarah. Sarah got 3 votes from Ty, Sari, and Aubrey. Ty got 2 votes from Sarah and Troy Zan, and Aubrey got 1 vote from Brad Culpepper. Yeah,
that's right.
Quite an amazing reunion. Quite amazing tribal council, that one.
It was.
In over 500 of them now, it must be. We've never seen that before.
I wonder if the producers were really trying to almost artificially create
that happen. Keep putting idols into the game to make it happen.
Yes, yeah. and it all builds towards the end, and they have manufactured this this sort of big moment, which I mean that's what this season's all about, isn't it? Game changers. So it's.
Yeah, I guess with the advantage that Sarah played, she could only play that at 6 to go. So they were obviously trying to create something big at that point in the game. But
that's a good point actually, because by doing that they can try and hit certain beats throughout the whole season and try and
Well, the other one, so it was playable at 13 and 6. Was 13 pre-merge? Would have been, I guess.
Yeah.
So maybe they were trying to create a bit of drama at that point. They didn't need it because other things happened. But maybe you're right. Maybe there was a bit of artificial story arcing going on.
Day 37.
Day 37. We're back at the immunity challenge. And the best way I can describe this is we're transferring balls through a metallic mechanism. That's the best I can come up with.
Yeah, it was. I don't think we've seen one exactly like this. It was a bit different, wasn't it? But
well, we've had something similar to this in the past where they've had this metallic contraption and you're feeding balls into it and you got to catch them and that's been one of the late in the game challenges that they've done.
Yeah.
In fact, I think it was even the final immunity challenge in one season that I remember.
That's right.
This was a little bit variation on a theme there. They're probably using some of the same sort of stuff, but they were putting the ball in and then they had to very delicately guide it through these obstacles to get it to the end, and you had to do that 3 times. And the only person who looked like getting anywhere.
Yeah, Brad absolutely smoked him, doesn't he? He never looked like he was going to lose.
Yep. Sarah did well early on, but I don't think she ever actually got one ball all the way through the course. But Culpepper just Yeah, just nailed it.
Again, is this sort of part of his whole background as being a professional sportsman and just being naturally dexterous and all those sort of things?
Yeah, he's obviously coordinated.
It has to be.
Yeah, it has to help.
It's a big factor, yeah.
So this was his 4th immunity of the season and his 2nd in a row. Or is it 3 in a row? I can't remember who won the...
Yeah, he was certainly very emotional.
No, it was 3 in a row.
Three in a row.
Yeah, he'd won the immunity challenge before that. Last week. Very emotional and declared that one being for Monica, his wife.
Yeah. No, it was. Now Aubrey is now worried because Brad doesn't want to work with her.
Yeah.
Which is a problem for her, and that has really been her problem for the whole season. Is that no one wants to work with her? Really,
yeah. It's always a problem for Aubrey. Her previous season was like that too. I'm
not sure why that is. It's whether it's just bad luck, but she didn't really have much of an opportunity this season at all, really, to really play the game. She was just bouncing along between various alliances and so on.
Lucky she got as far as she did, I think.
Yeah.
So there was a whole conversation then going on between Culpepper, Sarah, and Troy Zan, and the theory they came up with is it was better to get Aubrey out because Ty would be easy to beat in the final 3. That's the whole rationale for doing that.
Yeah, that's right. And then
which is probably right, to be honest.
Yeah. And then that left Sarah being stuck in the middle yet again.
And she said yet again, this has happened the whole way through this game.
It has been, yeah, that's right.
Isn't it interesting how certain survivors end up in the same position time and time again throughout the game? So Sarah was constantly being caught in the middle. Aubrey was constantly caught with no one to work with.
Yeah, that's right.
Quite often happens the same way, vote after vote for people in the game.
That's right. Yeah.
Anyway, then there was Aubrey very cleverly thinking strategy here, and she came up with this idea for Ty and Sarah to think about, that if Brad was to win the next immunity challenge, he would take Troy Zan to the final, which left just one space for someone else to go. But if Troy Zan had been taken out already, it would be a harder decision for him, and there's potentially 2 places left in the final 3. Which I thought was good thinking. Good thinking. She'd obviously thought of every combination, every permutation.
She's always thinking.
And she's always doing that. And that's right. I believe that's her professional background. I believe that sort of analysis. And came up with that. And I thought, that's good. That could work.
Yeah, that's good.
Yep.
Ty and Sarah are talking. He suggests that they get Aubrey out.
Yep.
Even though he likes her, she's a threat. And then we get back to Brad dominating Ty again.
Well, before that, but Ty said Aubrey is a great player, and that he can't beat her in the final 3, and I think that's true too.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes. So anyway, so back to Culpepper and Ty having robust exchanges.
Yes, that's right. And then Ty changes his mind yet again and says he tells Sarah that he's going for Troy Zan.
Yeah.
So in the end, we, the audience, don't really know where things are going.
No idea. And Sarah said going into this tribal council, this is the biggest vote of the game, and well, duh, but yes, because we had no idea how it was going to go. Yeah. So what happened here? What did they talk about at this tribal council?
Well, I mean, Troy Zan was saying they were talking about how well Culpepper's been doing at the challenges, and Troy Zan was saying he always thought that he was pretty good at challenges, but Brad is just killing it at the moment.
Yeah, do you think Troy Zan Troy Zan's 10 years older than when he first played? Maybe not quite that much, but...
Oh, it's about that, yeah.
Yeah, about 10 years. Yeah, do you think there was a sense there of just that little bit older and just not quite as physically strong as he was last time, and that he was sort of having to come to terms with that a little bit? Just the natural aging process we all go through?
Yeah, well, I can't really recall Troy Zan really starring too much in any of the challenges, has he?
Not in this one, he hasn't.
No.
Interesting little conversation then happened about Jeff asked everyone there about, do you think there are people here who you can't beat? And all of them, except for Troy Zan, said that, there were people there who they wouldn't be able to beat in a final 3. Troy Zan really confidently said, no, I can beat anyone.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, I'm going to hand it to him. He's got confidence.
He always has a sunny disposition, doesn't he?
He's a cheerful sort of guy. But I can beat anyone. Now, whether he believed that or not, I have no idea. Anyway, that was that. Off we went to the vote.
Yes, the votes.
And what happened here? So Aubrey left the game at this point. She got 4 votes to Troy Zan's 1. The only person who voted for Troy Zan was Aubrey herself. So quite unanimous.
Yeah, so I was sorry to see Aubrey go because...
I like Aubrey.
Yeah, because I like Aubrey, but it wasn't that surprising really because she really hasn't received much screen time in this season, which is a bit of a worry because if that happens, you think, well, she's probably not going to go all the way.
But I think she's just a naturally fairly quiet, reserved sort of person, I think, and she probably doesn't make these big statements and really cocky, confident sort of statements about how great she is. She just gets on with it and just isn't necessarily the life of the party, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, like she's always strategizing though, and in her last season particularly, she was very good at trying and work her way and navigate through these different alliances and so on last time, but it just didn't work for her this time.
And clearly did it pretty well this time as well to make it to the final five.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
That's an amazing achievement.
I guess that her problem was that she never really had a really solid number two or like a solid person with her. So
Correct. And I loved what she said in her confessional right at the end.
What was that?
Being voted out. She talked a little bit about enjoying your time in the game, and then she said, "I'm so freaking excited to watch these psychopaths."
Yeah,
I love that.
Well, on to day 38.
4 are left.
Straight into another immunity.
Yep. This was.
This looked fun. This one.
It did look it did look fun, but I was a little disappointed. One of the things I love about the final episode of Survivor is usually there is this epic endurance challenge.
There is.
And you've really, and like Australian Survivor probably did it better than anything we've ever seen. On the rocky headland that time, standing on those narrow bits of wood, having to hang on to something, and it just went on and on and on and on. And I love that. I mean, how much do you want it? After that long, how much do you want it?
I think it's probably the fairest type of challenge as well, because I think it probably caters to most type of people more than these other sort of physical ones. But
we've talked about a season way back where apparently the challenge went on for something like 17 hours until a deal was done. I can't remember which season that was, but it was the firefighter and the dolphin trainer. I can't remember that. It was Tom and can't remember the dolphin trainer's name, but anyway, they did a deal and which went on for 7. I just love that. How much do you want it? That wasn't what this was.
No, that's right.
This was different. This was an obstacle course with a wet, slippery slide,
a water slide,
and then a lighthouse puzzle at the end. Yeah,
that's right. So
and Culpepper turned up in some weird kind of sack shirt. Did you see that? Has he worn that before?
No, I don't think so. And when I was watching it, what was I don't know where that came from, and I assume it was a rice sack, and maybe because
it looked like something. Maybe they'd finished the rice.
Exactly.
Might as well use it and make a shirt out of it.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether he was getting a bit, sunburnt and he was just trying to protect himself or something, or what. But Sarah started off in the lead, then Brad.
She got a great start, actually.
Yeah. Brad then takes over, basically leads all the way through the puzzle, and then he won. He wasn't really a close one at all.
Right at the end of the third run through the obstacles, getting the bags, he overtook her at that point. He was first to start working on the puzzle, with Sarah not far behind, but he just smashed it.
Yeah,
Sarah didn't seem to be able to get it together, but he just smashed it and won his 5th immunity challenge of the season.
That's
which
right.
Puts him. They never quite said exactly who is in that group of getting 5 in a season. Aussie's one, we know that because they said that later on. There might be some others, but there are not many.
Yeah, there were 5 others besides Brad.
Who are
they are Colby.
Right, okay.
Colby Donaldson, Tom Westman, the firefighter who you spoke about.
Yep.
Terry Dietz.
Oh, right, okay.
He was the fighter pilot, wasn't he? Yep. Aussie, of course, and Mike Holloway.
Okay.
So the 6, that is a pretty elite group.
Absolutely, yep. Absolutely. And obviously, you've gone fairly deep into the game, too, to be able to pull that many individual immunities off also. So they're generally going to be people who are very good Survivor players as well.
Yes, that's right.
So that's pretty impressive. That's very, very impressive. So absolutely dominated the individual immunities all the way through. Culpepper did. A few other people. Sari got one along the way. I think Aubrey got one at one stage, didn't she?
That's right,
A couple of other people, but he's just dominated since the merge.
He has, yeah. And then Brad's talking about his decision and how he's going to work out who to take with him to the final 3, isn't he?
Yeah.
Now he basically said that he's going to base it on who wronged him the most.
Yes.
And Ty
that was
backstabbed
Ty.
him
He
all the
backstabbed
way.
him all the way through the game, he said.
Now, I don't know whether he really meant that or not, because that's not always the smartest way to play, though, because it doesn't really matter
No.
who wronged you. It depends whether you want to win or not.
Who can you beat?
Yeah.
Yep. Who can you beat? So maybe he was a little bit, maybe it was as good reason as we found out, maybe he was a little bit apprehensive about his chances. Maybe
Against Ty?
Well, against anyone.
At all, yeah.
But I liked then what Ty. I liked Ty's. He was desperate. He was desperate because Sarah was never going to go for this. But Ty's trying to come up with something, and he was saying, "All right, why don't we vote for Troy Zan? They're going to vote for. I mean, I think Ty probably knew they were going to vote for him, so that would have forced
a
two-way tie, and therefore a fire challenge. He said the jury hates me. I'm not a good player. I mean, it was, I mean, Sarah was never going to go for that. If Sarah would have had a pretty good idea, I think, of how Troy Zan and
it must have been pretty clear that they hated Ty and that he was going home.
And if she knew that, she knew it was going to be 3-1.
Yeah, there's no point in risking
that for her.
No.
Yeah. If she was in any doubt, maybe you'd go for it.
That's right. Well, wasn't she even saying that she wasn't all that good at making fire anyway? I thought
they both
so
said they weren't
it
very
wasn't
good
really a
making
great
fire.
option for her. Whichever way you look at it.
Look, props to him for having a crack and having a go and coming up with something. But yeah, it was pretty desperate. And I was sitting there thinking, Sarah's not going to take that.
No.
Not going to take. There's nothing in it for her. So I went to tribal council, and Culpepper started this one off by saying that we need to work out who to bring to the end, which Jeff Probst immediately jumped on and said, "You said we. Who's the we?"
Yeah.
Which we knew it was going to be Troy Zan, but it certainly gave away his intentions, I think.
That's right.
Yeah. What else happened here? Oh, this is where the discussion came up about the possibility of a tie, and it got very confusing because we had Ty talking about a tie with a different spelling. But Troy Zan, the first I've heard of a tie, which I think perhaps though, when I heard that, I thought that could be evidence that he's really not part of the discussions.
He's just not plugged in at all.
He's not plugged in at all, which that was my reaction. That you're really not playing the game that hard from a tactical, strategic point of view if you don't know that discussion's even being had, or to even contemplate, to even sit there and think, okay, what might the other side do here to try and flip this? He's not even thinking about that.
He's just been sailing along the whole season, hasn't he?
Exactly, and he is playing that number 2 role we've seen numerous times. So Tina's Colby, JT's Stephen Fishback. You need a number 2, and he's been the number 2 to cop up the whole way through.
He has, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. We didn't have a lot of discussion at that tribal council.
No, not really. There wasn't that much to say, really. But
straight to the vote, 4 votes to come out, and once again, it was pretty clear. Ty got 3, and Troy Zan got 1, and that came from Ty. So Ty became the last person to join the jury.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Well,
there's not a lot more we can say about Ty, really. I think we've said it all. He's, he wears his heart on his sleeve. He's very sensitive.
I like him as a person, but he's a frustrating player to watch. I must say,
very frustrating to watch as a survivor player. But he cares genuinely and deeply about people and their feelings and doesn't want to hurt them.
Yep.
But boy, he plays some odd moves.
Yeah, that's right.
So, day 39. We've made it to the end.
That's right. Final 3, Brad, Troy Zan, and Sarah.
Yeah, cooking a nice little brekkie there.
Yeah, now, it seems like at this stage there was little sort of snippets of each of them sort of talking about what they thought that their main strength was, sort of going towards that final tribal council. Troy Zan said his strength was his social game and loyalty and so on, which
well, yes and no. I think it's fair to say that Troy Zan's probably a really nice, decent guy who is easy to get along with, talks to people, genuinely interested in them. But I don't know that he was doing much in the way of strategy, for what I saw, like planning the big moves and executing them.
No,
and he didn't have to.
No,
he was in his alliance. He was,
And this is this age-old question: is it enough just to make it to the end, or do you have to have shown some moves? Because I don't know, because just by being there takes some kind of skill, doesn't it?
It does.
So just to get there.
It does, no question about that. But look, for me, if I was sitting on the jury, I'd want someone who's fought to be there. and has done something to make it happen.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying Troy Zan didn't do that, but
Others did more, basically.
others did more.
Yeah.
He was in this strong alliance with Culpepper from the beginning. He stayed rigidly loyal, and Sierra for much of the game as well. He stayed rigidly loyal to that. But beyond that, did he really do anything to twist things up and really make things happen and turn it to his advantage? No, I don't think so.
No.
So yes, that was that, and off we went to our final tribal council. Where I love the stats. I just love Survivor stats. And
just before you get there, Craig, did you see how they threw the chairs in the fire as they were leaving?
I did notice that.
After their breakfast, they sort of threw in the
and then seemed to walk off, and I thought, geez, I hope they've got a fire protection officer there who can put that fire out.
I used to love back in the old days of Survivor. They would torch the entire campsite. Why don't they do that anymore?
I don't know. Maybe there's rules about what they can and can't do on some of these islands.
I'm sure there is, but they used to always have this big. It's like a big funeral pyre, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
as they
ceremonial
walked
burning.
off to the final tribal.
Yeah, no, I did notice that. Yeah. Who doesn't love a good fire, hey? But yeah, so we get to tribal council and we discover that Aussie's now played 128 days.
Ridiculous.
Which is just like, what's that? That's 5 months?
Yeah.
Something crazy like that. And Cerie's played 121.
Yeah.
121 days. I just think
that's huge.
And that's just amazing. And particularly for Cerie, who, Jeff must have said it 5 times during last night's episode that she was the woman who got off the couch and played Survivor.
She's not in her element at all.
She's not in her element at all. And she spent 121 days of her life playing this tough physical, tough mental game. I'm just in awe. It's amazing. Then we changed the game again.
We did a little bit.
Yep.
I liked it, actually. Did you?
Well, yes and no. Yes and no. So to explain what we're talking about. So one final twist, Jeff announces at Tribal Council that instead of each jury member asking their question of the survivors, this time they were going to do it a bit more of a discussion, a bit more of a general discussion between the jury and the
it was like a Q&A sort of session, wasn't it?
Yeah, a little bit like that, and broken into 3 bits: the outwit bit, the outplay bit, and the outlast bit. And yes, it did generate more discussion, but I quite like the dramatic moment that we're used to seeing, where you just know there's someone on the jury who's going to deliver this devastating statement, and you're sitting there waiting for it. You know who it's going to be.
That's true.
I just think that makes for better TV. I think there's more drama. This was just more of a chat, and it didn't really get that heated. There was a bit of a debate at one stage, but.
Do you think they'll go back to the old style again? Or
I think they actually will. I don't think it had quite the impact that the normal one question style does.
I thought what they did differently, and I'm not sure whether they were encouraged to do this, but a few of them declared that they were the champion for Brad or the champion for Sarah for this reason and so on. And
Zeke declared himself for Sarah. Aussie declared himself for Culpepper. And I think Debbie backed him up as well. In that discussion.
No one championed Troy Zan, though.
No.
Poor old Troy Zan. But
he didn't say much, did he? Really?
I think he knew that his goose was cooked.
Yeah, I think so.
He did. So he was just there for the ride.
Yeah, well, he made it to the final 3, which is...
in the end. But they have done this before a little bit, where someone has felt strongly about someone in the tribal council, and they have tried to sort of champion that person, try and sway the jury's vote. But this was a lot more overt this time.
Yes.
And so I just wonder whether that was encouraged by the producers or not to even just to use that word champion. It just seemed a little bit.
Well, a couple of them used it, so
yeah,
maybe I don't know. Look, I didn't think Culpepper presented particularly good arguments in his responses to some of the comments that were made to him in this, and for someone
he looked a bit like a deer caught in the headlights a few times.
Yeah, he really did, and for someone who. For a profession is involved in, he's a trial lawyer, as he said. I was a little surprised by that. Sarah clung very much to the way I have to operate at work as a police officer to keep myself safe. Is kind of I have to adapt quickly to circumstances as they arise, and she was using that as a justification for how she played, and she used that quite strongly. And Troy Zan basically said, "Look, it's been great. I had an awesome time. And good on you.
Let's go and grab some beers."
It was like that. It really was like that.
But what surprised me was that I didn't appreciate how much the jury really seemed to really went against Sarah and her sort of lack of real relationships and so on.
Yeah.
And so maybe it wasn't shown as much on the during the season, but it became obvious that she must have spoken to all those people on the jury and acted like she was their best friend and all that sort of thing, and then just
and then burned them.
Yeah,
one by one,
basically, because most of them seemed pretty upset. Particularly Andrea was very upset.
Well, yeah.
And then because she asked about whether these personal relationships were real, and Sarah said, yes, of course they were. And the jury all laughed at her like it was the biggest, the funniest thing, the biggest lie and the funniest thing. And and poor Sarah, she she was very taken aback, I think, wasn't she, at that point?
She was. Yeah, there was certainly a lot of venom directed her way, and that was during the outwit part of the discussion.
Michaela asked Brad, "How much do you know about me?" And the answer to that was not very much, was it?
That's right.
Basically,
he had a bit, but I wasn't sure if she was happy with the answer or unhappy with the answer.
Well, I mean, I think that I knew about as much as Michaela as Brad did. I knew all those things as well, and I hadn't spent more than a month with her. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you'd think you'd know them a bit better after spending. They must have a lot of downtime to talk, surely.
There's a lot of downtime.
Yeah.
But those two never got on, so they obviously never.
And I suppose that's like
never spoke.
It's like there's always that one person at work who you're not that close to, and when you think about it, you don't really talk to them that much, really, do you?
Yeah, I guess so.
You're polite. You're polite. You exchange pleasantries. How was your weekend? All that sort of stuff.
But this is a game though, where they know they should be doing it, even if they don't like the person.
Where you have differences, you have to suck it up, and you have to just make sure you get to know them. Yeah, I guess so. That's a fair call.
Yeah, There's more talking about with Sarah with the turning on and off the game Sarah and the real Sarah, all that.
And again, she brought out the whole, this is what I have to do. This is what I have to do in my professional life. This is what I'm going to do on Survivor.
Yeah, I thought that Michaela, throughout the whole season, has been gradually becoming more and more chill, actually, hasn't she? And so
by the time of the reunion show, she was super chilled.
She was, yeah. And so she said that she didn't understand all these emotions against Sarah. So she was the one that was saying that. So
exactly.
It's so she really came full circle, I think.
And who was Aubrey talking about? Well, someone talked about someone had a little bit of. Was it Aubrey who said that Sarah had a little bit of Sandra without the sass? Was that Aubrey who said that?
Yeah, it was. Well, it was about Sarah. That's what that comment was about.
A little bit of Sandra without the sass. Yeah. That's a great line.
That's right. And I mean, people respected Sandra for her game, so I guess that's all that they were saying was, well, Sarah's done pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess the other theme that came out right at the end of that part of the discussion too was just a general view amongst the jury that Troy Zan had been a passenger.
Yeah. As opposed to a driver.
That's right.
He was a passenger. But Debbie said that Brad's testosterone level was 100 times more than the average man. So
lucky Brad.
Lucky Brad. But again, that just proves is what planet is Debbie from? because earlier in the season she hated Brad. Yeah. Remember? She absolutely hated Brad. So
then we moved into the outplay section of the discussion where Ozzy very passionately said, "Look, Brad wins hands down here. He never stopped working. He played to win." And Debbie goes, "Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Yep, totally agree with Ozzy.
Yep.
Totally agree with Ozzy." So very much on his side at that point.
But Sarah made the point, which is a good point, I thought, was that, well, Brad's a professional athlete, so his 5 immunity wins really is not that surprising.
Yeah.
And that's a good point, really. It's I know from time to time they do have these sort of former athletes come in.
But so what?
Well, it's a bit of an unfair advantage because he it's.
Well, he also pointed out he's in his late 40s.
Yeah, but that's fine. No, I don't really see that as any
he was very, very
major
very
impediment.
Fit 40s,
But but he's obviously much better at these types of things than the average person, and he wouldn't have got as far as he did if he hadn't won all those challenges, would he? So that was the only reason why he got that far.
That's true.
Was purely because of that.
They weren't able to dislodge him because he continually had immunity throughout. Sure, no. But I think what was better about Sarah said that, but then she went on to talk about how she got the secret advantage that was sitting under Michaela's foot at that challenge. And this is where I thought she really presented a good argument.
That was, yeah.
She said, "Look, I was observant. You've got to look for the detail. You've got to always be aware of what's going on around you. These aren't her exact words, but this is what she was trying to say. And that because she had noticed that, it was in plain view. It wasn't hidden. It was in plain view. Michaela didn't see it. She was sitting right on top of it. No one else saw it. No one. And as we talked about at the time, we can't work out how on earth she managed to get it without anyone seeing what she was doing. She managed to do all
that was
of
a masterstroke.
Yeah, it was. And I think that may have swung some votes, I think. I think everyone was sort of nodding in agreement going, yep, well played. Impressive.
Yeah, but the thing with just sort of going back to Culpepper and whether they should be including these former athletes and so on in Survivor, I don't think that they've really had the same in the sense of they haven't had like a some member of Mensa or someone who's expert at solving puzzles or solving Rubik's cubes or something like that, some absolute master, some absolute gun at puzzles.
They often don't win. I mean, you can't say that Sandra, who's won twice, is a challenge beast. Aussie's never got there.
That's right.
And he's one of that elite group who's won 5 challenges in a single season. So, they often don't actually make it. They don't win.
No, that's right.
It's someone like a Cochrane or someone like that who ultimately goes on.
Actually, going back to that, how we're talking about how Brad joined that elite group of people that have won 5 challenges. They were all men.
Yes.
As well.
Yes.
I don't know. It just makes me wonder whether some of these challenges are really skewed and they aren't all that fair. Particularly that last challenge we saw wasn't the endurance style one.
It wasn't, but maybe that's why they tried to put the puzzle element into it to try and balance it up a bit. So yes, there was a physical element to it, and you had to run upstairs and slide down and climb through an obstacle. But at the end of the day, you had to put a not very difficult looking puzzle together.
No.
So maybe that's what they're trying to balance it up. I don't know.
I guess having said a lot against Brad, though, he did solve some puzzles, though.
Yeah, he did.
To his credit as well.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, he did. Probably 3 of them that I can think of.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So that was the outplay section. Outlast didn't get a lot of discussion.
No, just basically Troy Zan just sort of
this is where he did his thing. Yeah,
he just kept it light and said, "I'm out, guys," because
it was obviously clear. I'm not the best strategist. Thanks for the adventure and got a clap. Yeah. Good on him. He had a great time. Yes.
Oh, okay. Should we go through the votes now?
So then we did our obligatory I'll get the votes, and Jeff appears through the shrubbery at a live reunion show close on a year after they filmed it. I mean, imagine that. You're in the final 3. I wonder if they get an inkling.
I don't know how much tension there is because even though they wouldn't be allowed to, I'm sure, but surely the jury would at least talk amongst themselves, do you think, as like just asking...
I thought they had contractual provisions where they weren't allowed to.
I'm sure that they do have that, but I mean, yeah... I don't know, because I just get the impression that particularly when it's a landslide, I think that most people sort of knew what the outcome was going to be. But this wasn't really a landslide.
No,
it wasn't,
landslide at all.
No.
Well, so what were you thinking at the end, just before we get to the reunion show, at the end of that tribal council, how did you think it would go?
I thought probably just Sarah, but I thought it would be a bit closer actually, because it was, but it was very hard to tell actually.
I went into that final tribal council thinking that Culpepper was going to get it in a landslide. I got to the end of tribal council and thought that Culpepper would just get it.
Right. Okay.
I didn't think Sarah was going to get it. I thought the jury were going to look very favourably on the alliances that Culpepper made, the fact that he did win all those challenges. He was certainly involved in the strategy. I thought they would reward that. More so than Sarah, who did flip backwards and forwards a bit and lied to people and, wasn't perhaps the most popular person there. So,
well, I did say in the last podcast, I said that I thought it would come down to Brad and Sarah.
You did?
And I did.
You did say that, yep.
But at that time, I said I think it was 50-50 between them because I couldn't really pick between them as to who was the better player because they'd both been playing a good game.
Exactly right. So what happens, Stu? Who won?
Well, Sarah won, obviously.
Yep.
She won 7 votes to 3. So in the Sarah camp, we had Ty, Aubrey, Suri, Michaela, Andrea, Zeke, and Haley. And for Brad, we had Sierra, Debbie, and Aussie. So it's
no great surprise, is it, really, when you think about it like that? So Sierra was in an alliance with Culpepper for much of the game until she was voted out.
That's right.
Aussie and Debbie both declared themselves for Culpepper during that tribal council. So that's not surprising. There's perhaps a few on the Sarah camp that might seem a little bit surprising. And as you say, Michaela, I think, is one of them who was definitely lightening up as the show went along.
That's right.
Maybe Andrea as well.
Well, even Andrea was very upset at Sarah at the final tribal. But yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's right. So, yeah, so Sarah wins 7-3.
There you go.
She's crowned sole survivor, and we get straight into the reunion.
Straight into the reunion. So, anything you want to talk about that happened at the reunion?
Oh, a little bit. I liked Sandra's tiara up in the back row.
Yeah, the Queen was in court.
Yes, that's right. She was holding court.
Holding court. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, she was up the back. She didn't say much. Didn't say a great deal during the reunion show.
No, and actually we didn't hear it all from JT or from Andrea.
No, true. Sierra did talk.
Is it all that we
heard from Malcolm briefly?
Or Sierra?
Tony didn't say much.
The first Sierra. Who went first?
I don't think we heard from Hayley.
No, that's right. That's right. Yeah. So, yeah, and I mean, like Sarah talked about how she got permission from her friends basically before she went on the show.
Wasn't that interesting?
Yeah, and I thought that would have been almost a given in that your friends would know what you really like, and so when they see you playing this other role, I mean, you almost wouldn't have to get permission. I would have thought, but you know.
Don't know. But it depends on your...
But she felt strongly about that.
Exactly. It depends on your values and how you want people to see you and not to be surprised and shocked if you're playing a particular way. The other thing Sarah said that I found fascinating was that Tony was a big inspiration for her. Now, obviously, they played together in their first season.
That's right, they did.
Which Sarah was voted out very early from. She was playing the nice guy.
And they both sort of gravitated towards each other because
they're both police officers.
That's right.
Exactly. But what I found fascinating is that she was talking about how before the season, Tony was calling her at the crack of dawn and saying, "Get up and do some training and get out there and do it." I just thought that was amazing.
Oh, I can totally see Tony doing that.
So can I, yeah. Well, Tony and Spencer, who also played on that season,
that's right,
had these amazing text conversations and Twitter conversations, which are hilarious. So I think Tony is this amazingly passionate, out there kind of guy who's just this ball of energy all the time. And so you can totally see him doing that.
It's a shame that he didn't last longer, actually.
Yeah, he would have been great entertainment.
That's right.
If he'd lasted. There are a few in that camp who would have been great to see continue. He's one. Another one's Malcolm.
Exactly.
Malcolm went early in that amazing tribal council very early on. And I guess the other big thing that happened early in the reunion show as well was Culpepper made a very big and public apology to Ty.
Oh yeah. Well, he looked terrible on screen beforehand in those final episodes.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
And then we get to Jeff. Always likes to do this theoretical vote.
I know. I love that.
It says, "What if?"
I love that. Culpepper did not want to go there, did he?
No, he loves doing that. But he said, "What if Ty was in the final three instead of Sarah?" Which could have quite easily happened.
Could have easily happened.
And it would have been a tie, which is
5-5.
That's right.
Which has never happened in the final vote.
No. And
I've often wondered, I have actually wondered, what would happen if there was a tie in the final vote? How would they deal with it? Now we know.
And Jeff told us.
Now we know.
He said that the third person in the final three that wasn't the subject of the other 5 votes, or the other 10 votes, gets to choose.
I know. Isn't that incredible? Yeah. Wouldn't that be the most amazing moment?
It would be.
Now, I assume they know that. I assume that's not sprung on them in the spur of the moment.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's right.
You would... that's a hell of a...
There's probably lots of rules and regulations that I'm sure some people really know exactly what's going on and others forget these little fine details.
I wonder if there's a rule book on hand somewhere. Like, presumably somewhere close to camp, there must be some little shelter where the crew sets up. And presumably there's medical staff not far away and... there's probably spare batteries for the cameras and all sorts of stuff set up, probably not far away. I wonder if somewhere near the camp is the official rule book that you can consult.
There must be.
You never see it, but
there must be.
I'd love to know that.
Yeah.
So if anyone knows, please leave a comment. I'd love to know. Where's the rule book kept during the game?
And as Jeff said, this is one decision that will haunt Brad forever.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah, it would have been 5-5 between Culpepper and Ty, and I think Troy Zan would have gone Culpepper. So yeah, that's probably why Culpepper did not want to know. That's why. That's why.
What's the point?
What's the point?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just cheap entertainment, really, is what Jeff Probst is doing there. But that's why he didn't want to know. You wouldn't want to coulda, woulda, shoulda.
Yeah.
Decision was made a year ago. Can't change it.
We had the Zeke and Varner thing was brought up again, which, I mean, there wasn't really much more to say about that particularly, I don't think, was there?
Not really, no. I think there's been a lot of discussion since. Both Zeke and Jeff have written extensively about the whole incident. Jeff, as recently as the morning of the final episode, he was writing an ET Online about the journey he's been through since the incident with Zeke at Tribal Council a while back, which was interesting to read. It's on ET Online if anyone's interested. So they discussed it. From what I observed there, they both seem to be doing pretty well.
Yeah, well,
I mean, you're both pretty determined to turn that incident into a positive as much as you can.
Well, Zeke sort of showed once again how articulate he is. Really,
he is.
He's amazing.
The poise and grace he's shown throughout a pretty traumatic incident for him has been quite amazing.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah. I wasn't too happy about Varner plugging his book though. Were you?
Yeah.
I don't know. That just seems like
he won't play Survivor again. So
Well, before he was talking about owning his mistake, but then he's almost then trying to turn it into something else as well. And I thought that was a little bit.
Well, in the book apparently is about shame.
Surviving shame.
Yeah,
that's what it's called.
And the article, is that the actual title? And the article he wrote on ET Online talks about that, but talks about the psychology of it. And how people react why people react the way they do, and when shame is at the core of it. And it's really quite interesting. I'm not plugging his book, but I'm just saying it's clearly something that he's
it certainly
embraced.
brings up certain issues and so on.
Yeah.
But should he be profiting from that? That's all. It just feels a bit wrong to me. But
yeah, well, but I mean, sure, I see what you're saying, but I mean, I would imagine he would see it as a way where he can turn that into something positive for somebody who's living with a bad mistake they've made and is really quite is ashamed of it, and there are consequences for their mental health as a result.
Yeah,
if he can turn that into a positive for that person and how they recover from that, I think that's a positive. So
yeah.
What else are we talking about? We had a bit of talk about the Aubrey Cochrane crush.
Yes, that's right.
We've all got a crush on Cochrane.
That's right. Jeff Probst really likes Michaela, doesn't he?
He does.
So even though she's been on twice now, she may come back again later on. I mean, not sort of immediately.
Was
but
she the one who said, "Yeah, I'd be happy to come back"? Was that her?
I think she did actually.
I think she did.
Yep.
And Jeff actually said, didn't he, something like, "Oh, you're one of my favourite." Wasn't the word he used, but I think you're also. I can't remember exactly what words he used.
Yeah, that's right.
Made it pretty clear he did like her. That's about all I've sort of noted down as things that came up there.
Well, then at the end there, Ozzy was talking about the Q&A, the Q&A style tribal council. It then just
it made a real political point, didn't he?
It did, and I thought
ended with, we've got to change how this country's run.
I know. So we're talking about that. We're talking about Varner's book. People are plugging themselves left, right, and centre.
Yeah.
I was.
And Ozzy's running for president.
I thought that was the last. It's that is unfair when they start bringing these things into Survivor. I think it's. But
it was a bit. You could interpret either way what he was saying. You could say that he opposes the current regime or administration that's been elected. You could interpret it that way, but you could also interpret what he said as being an endorsement of it. He didn't actually say anyone's name.
No. So that's right.
It was a little bit ambiguous about what he actually meant by that statement.
I guess that's a true comment. Yeah. It's just I don't think we've really heard anyone make a political statement like that before.
It was clearly a political statement, but I'm not. I think I know what he meant, but I'm not 100% sure.
I wonder what the rules are about that, because you would think that the producers would say you guys aren't allowed to say this, you can't say that, or and you can't
I think so.
plug your own book,
but
or things like that.
It's live.
I know.
I mean, has it got the 7-second kill switch? Like they do on Talkback Radio. If someone says something truly offensive, they hit the kill button and it all stops. Can they do that?
I don't know. I don't know.
I guess if it was really bad, they would, but
yeah. Well, yeah.
Or
they would have to, wouldn't they?
Just
it wouldn't be truly live. Couldn't be truly live.
Probably just stop the feed, or I don't know what they do. But anyway, it was interesting. Aussie making a political point.
The next season's Fiji, isn't it?
Just for something different.
I don't.
Heroes, hustlers, and what was it? Heroes, hustlers, and healers.
Heroes, healers, and hustlers. Yeah. Well, I don't mind them staying at Fiji particularly because they normally sit around that South Pacific somewhere and
might as well have some continuity and
Fiji looks fantastic, but they all look to a similar degree. It all looks similar. So why why make it Cook Islands as opposed to Fiji when it could be anywhere in the South Pacific, particularly?
Well, Australian Survivor seems to have Samoa sewn up, so they can't go there.
Yeah.
Although this one also seems to have been filmed already, so they could have gone to Samoa because I think Australian Survivor's only just starting to film at the moment. So maybe they could have been some synergies there. I don't know how closely the two work together, but
That's right.
But that looks like an interesting series. A whole bunch of new players.
It didn't give that much away, apart from this whole heroes, healers, and hustlers sort of thing. And what connotation do you give hustlers to? When someone says hustler,
I think lying, cheating, stealing.
Exactly.
Just
it's
the bad guys basically.
It has a negative connotation.
It does, yeah.
To me, but maybe it doesn't for American audiences because I get the impression that.
Hustler's almost the term of endearment, isn't it?
It is because it's someone who is a quick worker and who's industrious and so on. It's not necessarily bad.
Yeah.
It means that they're a fast and hard worker. And I thought that was funny how we obviously have that different sort of connotation between the two countries.
Cultural difference.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's right.
That's back in the fall, so I guess we'll be seeing it. Oh gosh, is it going to be up against Australian Survivor again? Is that what's going to happen?
Well, last time it sort of started halfway through the Australian Survivor, which is easy to do because the Australian Survivor goes for so long.
So long. So we could be seeing that September, October.
Now, we haven't heard this for a little while. The Survivor Fantasy League. Now, I thought I'd bring this up. We haven't spoken too much about this because
we were doing badly, Stu.
Not because we were doing badly, because the timing was all wrong. Because the league usually wasn't updated by the time we were recording the podcast and so on.
And we were doing badly, Stu.
Yeah, but we have done. We've got all the points are in now.
Correct weight, do we?
Yes. Now, see, this was something that we did with some of the previous survivors from Australian Survivor. We had Andrew Torrens, we had Nick, we had Matt, and then we had you and I, Craig. Now, I came last.
Yes, because you lost all your people early.
That's right. And
I did too.
You came second last.
Yep. Funny
now, then Matt came basically middle. Right. He had a fairly sort of middling group. Now Nick, he had been leading basically the whole season. He was doing very well, but Andrew pipped him at the post in the very last episode.
Oh wow! Did Andrew have Sarah in his team? Is that why that happened?
Well, Andrew had the final three, didn't he?
Oh, did he?
He had Sarah, Brad, and Troyzan from the start, and so well done, Andrew.
Oh, that's impressive.
You finished on 528 points. I, on the bottom, only managed 178, so not very good. So well done, Andrew.
But how many did I get in the end?
You got 213. So yeah,
I had a good, strong start, but I quickly lost my team. So
yeah,
I think I did well to get even that many, to be honest.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, well done.
But that was a bit of fun anyway.
Yeah, it was a bit of fun. Well done, Andrew. Great work.
Well, that ends another US season of Survivor.
Wasn't it a good one?
Yep, no, that was great. Thanks for joining us every week, Craig. And
it's been a pleasure, Stu. And I think we can honestly say the game will have been changed by that season. I mean, we saw some crazy stuff going on at a few tribal councils along the way that I think will probably continue, all that mad scrambling, last-minute mad scrambling at tribal council, which happened a few times. I think we'll see that again. A few little innovations they brought in along the way.
I'm not sure if it was much of a game changer compared to other things because they are always evolving the game anyway. So to a certain extent, there's always changes going on. So I'm not sure whether it was any more than...
But there were a few little things, and that innovation they had at the final tribal council is another one. Whether that will stay, I don't know. I personally, I think I prefer to go back to the old way. But there were a few things like that they did change. I think the game was played harder. It just every season the intensity seems to ramp up and get stronger and harder and played more fiercely. And I think that happened here.
Well, actually, it was something that Cochrane said on a recent podcast I thought was interesting, was that he said he doesn't quite like as much the seasons with the returning players because he said it's all too serious. Everyone is just playing too hard right from day one, and there's just no fun anymore. And so he likes those moments with Keith driving around on the tuk-tuk on the beach, just sort of funny things like that. And it seems like there's no time for that sort of thing.
I agree. I do agree with Cochrane to a degree there, because if you continually have these seasons which are full of returning players, it is going to get boring. We're going to get sick of those people. So they do constantly need to be having seasons where they introduce new cast who we don't know. And where you have those confusing first few episodes where you don't know what the people are like, and you really have
or how they're going to play,
or who they are, and I like that unpredictability that you get with a whole new bunch of people. So it's good to see the next season seems to be a whole new bunch.
That's right.
Which will be great. Looking forward to it.
Well, thanks for joining us, everyone. It's been great having you. It has been fun. And until next time.
See you then.
See you,
Bye-bye.
Craig.